Hey, welcome to another Snap video. This one is going to be the most challenging one yet. I'm going to give you some hints, but you are going to have to do a little problem solving on your own, so I hope you're up for the challenge. The blocks that we are going to talk about today that are new is this stamp block. We're going to talk about the difference between change X and set X and change Y and set Y, and we're also going to talk about what happens if you put repeats inside of repeats. So real quick, I'm going to show you what the final product's going to look like, and then we'll walk through the first one. All right, I have switched this to full screen, so you're not going to see the code, but I am going to show you what it's going to look like, hopefully, when you're done. The first one, the one we're going to do together, is just going to be a grid of sprites, so it should look something like this. All right, the second one is going to be kind of a spiral, not a spiral, a circle of sprites. It's going to end up something like that. You can choose different sprites if you want. And the most challenging one is going to be kind of a checkerboard effect. It's going to look something like this. The sprite's still there. We'll get rid of that. But what these are stamps of different costumes. And these are your three challenges. So you're going to have the grid, the circle, and the checkerboard. So those are your three. And whoops. And we're going to start off with a new snap just so you can see through all the steps that we're going to go through. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to new. And first, we're going to pick a costume. So I picked the heart in the previous example. You can pick whatever you want. We can adjust the size if the thing is too big or too small. So maybe this time I'll do it with, I don't know, do something similar. I'll do it with Apple. All right, so we're going to grab a sprite. If we want to change the size of it, if it's too big or too small, we're going to go to looks. We're going to set size, and maybe we'll put that at, I don't know, that one's pretty good size. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, but that's pretty good. All right, now what I want to do is I want to put the apple in the top left corner, and I want to draw rows of it. So we're going to get some coordinates. I'm going to start at -200, which is pretty far to the left, and +150, which is pretty far up. And I'm just going to put this right there and see if that's where I want. And that is where I want. So we're going to start with this. I'm going to maybe add a clear block just so that in case I have stuff that I need to clear. I'm going to clear the screen. Is going to go up to the top. Now what I want to do is I want it to stamp. So what stamp is going to do, when I click it once, it doesn't appear like anything happened, but what's happened is, and I can pick up the sprite and move it, there's an image of the sprite here. This one you can't move because it's not a sprite, it's just a picture of where the sprite was. And so what you can do is you can stamp it, and then what we're going to do is we're going to move the apple. We're going to move it to the right. The way we're going to do that is with change X. And if you want to move X to the right, you're going to make this a positive number. So let's say I want to change it by 50. Change X by 50. The sprite, this is where the sprite is, and this is a stamp. So this is not the sprite. So you kind of have to keep track of it a little bit. Then I could stamp it again. And then I can move 50 and stamp it again. And I could keep alternating clicking these. Now, I want the code to do this all at once. Okay, so that's where we're going to get to our first level of repeat. And I can kind of estimate how many it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 should be about enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a repeat block. And I'm going to put the stamp and the change X by 50 in this. And then we're going to drag. And what this is doing is, and maybe this is doing it one more time than we want. Let's see. Let's make it 9 and see if that's, oh, that is what I said, 9. There we go. Now this last one that goes off the edge is still a sprite, so it hasn't marked it yet. We can leave that alone for now. So all this is doing is it's stamping, changing X by 50 is moving it to the right, then it's going on to the next one. All right, so this makes one row, this block right here. What I want to do is I want to move this down a row. All right, and so what I want to do now is I want to change the Y. If I want the Y to go down, I need to make it negative because Y is positive going up and negative going down. So if I want this row of apples to go down, I'm going to change Y by a negative number. I'm going to say -50. Now, when I do that, you'll see that it went down. It's on the very edge of the screen, but you can probably see it. It went down by 50, but I also need to go all the way back to the left. Now, I wanted to start at the same X coordinate from the very beginning, this -200X. I don't want to change it by that, though. I want it to go directly to that. So that's where the set is going to come. We're going to set X to -200. The difference between change and set. Change is going to make it wherever it was, it's going to change by that amount. So right now the Y is at 150. If I change it by -50, it's going to go down to 100. Set is going to automatically jump all the way to that number no matter where it was before. So if we say change y by -50, it's going to go down. If I say set x to -200, it's going to go all the way to the left. Like it should be lined up right under that first apple. So we're going to clear the screen, draw the first row, and then we're going to click this and change y and set x and see if our apple lines up where we want. And it does exactly where we want. Now what I want to do is I want to do another repeat of apples. So I already have this one once, and this works. So I'm going to, once the things start working, I'm going to start adding them to the code. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this repeat, because this draws another row of apples, and I'm just going to try it out. Okay, that worked great. So I have another row of apples. And now we have 2 rows of apples. I could keep duplicating this code, but this section of code right here, it's going to just repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. So what I can do is I can put this section of code that has a repeat and then has a couple other things, because I do have to go back to the start and move down. I can put just this section of code in another repeat. And actually, before I put in the repeat, let me just hit it again and you'll see what happens. So if I hit it again, it goes down another row and draws it. This goes down a row, resets it, kind of like a typewriter. And then this repeats the row of apples, and I can keep clicking that, and I can estimate how many rows I want to do. So this is the first row, and then I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. So I'm not going to change here. This is the going across. I need 6 in this repeat. So I'm going to put this inside this other one. So I know there's a lot going on, and slow it down, and maybe we can slow it down with the stepper in 1 second. If you need to slow it down and run it as many times as you need to. This is going to draw the first row of apples. This is going to reset it. This is going to draw another row of apples. And then what this is going to do is it's going to keep drawing 6 rows of apples. So when I run this, all right, I have 6 rows of apples. Maybe I have when the number 1 is pressed. And it draws me a grid of apples. Again, and if you want to slow it down to see what's happening, it is confusing because this repeat will go a bunch of times before it goes into the outside repeat. These are called nested loops. We will get to this more later in the semester, but it's a good challenge for you now. So I slowed it down quite a bit so you can kind of see this one's running first, and then you'll see what happens after it finishes this 9. It'll go inside the next repeat, and then it stays inside the inner one until it does all 9 apples, and then it's going to go back to the outside of the repeat. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit so you don't. All right, so that's the first one. We're making a grid of things, and this one's done for you, so you can kind of just follow along. You can make the sprite different. You can do, maybe your sprite's smaller, so you want to change these numbers by something different. Be creative, but this is basically what the first one's doing. Now, for the second one, we're going to add a new sprite. Maybe we start with a number 2, clear the screen, and let's get another costume. So let's grab another costume real quick. And I'm going to give you some hints with this one. Maybe we do, I don't know, this little beetle thing. All right. So what I want to do is I want this beetle to kind of go around in a circle. The trick to this is it's not actually going in a circle. It's going in a shape where it moves forward, it turns a little bit, and moves forward, it turns a little bit, it moves forward, it turns a little bit, and it repeats that. And every time it moves, it's stamping. So I'm going to show you just some of this, and you're going to figure out how to make the code. So I'm going to go forward a little bit, and then I'm going to stamp. And if you keep doing that, it'll make a line of beetles. So that's okay. But if I wanted to make a circle of beetles, I need to put a turn in this. So I need to turn, and you can play around with different numbers for how much it moves and how much it turns in the order of this code. Also, you probably want to give it a starting point. So maybe you add a coordinate for it to start at. I'll let you mess around with that. And now when we do that, it's going to make a circle of beetle. Now it goes off the screen, and that's because either I didn't turn enough, or my move is too big, or I didn't start in the right spot. I'd like for you to have it stay on the screen the majority of the circle, but that's your second goal. And the third one, again, which is quite a bit trickier, we're going to make a third sprite. This one is going to have 2 costumes. So I'm going to show you real quick the 2. You can pick any 2 costumes you want. It's easier if they're similar in size. I could choose, I don't know, I'm going to choose just the blue and yellow ball. When I am coding, I can do things like I can have changed X by 10, and I could stamp. And then what I could do is I could go over here to looks, and I could switch to costume, and I can change to the other costume. I forget which one is which. I'm just going to duplicate this whole line of code, and I'm going to put ball A. And what this will do, this line of code will draw one of each. Now, it's not moving over enough, so I might have to move it over 50 so the balls aren't on top of each other. Maybe I'll clear the screen. This is just a hint. Oh, I don't want to clear the screen every time I click it, though. Let's move it back to the center, and let's just see. So that draws a blue and a yellow. Play around. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do something with switching between costumes, moving in the grid-like pattern. But the real trick to this, and you'll see when you get to it, but I'll give you just a little bit of a preview. One of the biggest problems is how are you going to alternate which row starts with one object and which row starts with the other? Because if you start with the other one, with the same one every time, it's not going to make a checkerboard, which is your main goal. All right, so this is your goal. This will take it will take you a little bit of experimenting with. It's not going to work the first time. This is quite a bit more challenge than the other stuff, but give it a shot and see if you can get it to work. All right, good luck.